Hello, welcome everybody. Let's start our meeting. First of all, I would like to congratulate Roxanne and welcome her on board. We hope to have many fun things and productive things going on where we left off. Correct? Okay, approval of the February minutes. Anybody have any issues with the February minutes?
I just sent an amended one because we just wanted to record the people who actually worked the meeting, worked the luncheon. Were prepared to work the luncheon. All right. And it was incorrect the first time. So that was why we sent the amended one. So, yeah.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
Good. All right, can
I don't think I can make a motion, right? Because I wrote them. So.
Okay, I make a motion to accept?
Motion to accept.
Second by?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Old business. The operational guide review.
We were almost ready to go last time with this, but I had to change the last section, which was we need a vote of 4 out of the 5 members. And for that to hold water, we needed all 4 of us to be here. So that has changed to correct. And also, we did a really thorough spell check of the spell check and found a couple O's, ons that were ofs and everything, but I think we got those. So my feeling is I don't even have to point out those ofs and ons, but so just making sure that everybody looked at the last one. And I think we've been doing this for 4 months, right, or so?
Yeah.
I think we're ready to bring it to a close unless.
Okay.
So we need a 4-person vote in order for this to be accepted. This is pressure.
This is pressure, and you've done a fine job on it. Thank you again.
Yes.
Can I have a motion to accept?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yay!
Well, so we'll put this in the COA file, all right? And by the way, there's nothing like this in the file already. So I'm delighted that we're setting something up for the future as well.
Yes.
Okay. And the next step with this, and I suggest we do this at the next meeting, we'll put it on the agenda if there's no objection. And that is to figure out how the present board fits in the officer listing, which is a chair and a vice chair and a secretary and a treasurer and a council person at large. Okay, so.
And in the spring, we look forward to getting another board member. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't think it's worth talking now. I think it's worth a think. How each of us think that, we would fit the 4 positions. And I will say that we can amend what's written here. So if one of us if we decide that it's better to have one person take a secretary and treasurership, then we can amend and and make it go that way too. So okay, cool.
All righty, next. It's gonna be easy peasy. The director's report.
I'm sorry, the report of the February gathering, which is what?
Oh, that's because you changed the order?
Yeah.
Oh, you added, I'm sorry, okay.
Yeah, and I'm
I don't
just
have-
jumping in. I'm being rude because Ron and I are really ready to go. You want to do it?
Do we have to separate you boys?
Here, I guess.
It was great.
They did great without us.
I bet they did.
We were nervous though, but it did take 3 people to substitute for the 2 of you, all right? And I would like to take a moment just to mention their names, and unless there's an objection, I'd also like to write a handwritten thank you.
Absolutely.
To Teresa, okay? And Joanne, I found out this morning her name is actually Joanne. I thought it was JoJo always.
Right.
That's because I call her
Joanne.
Yeah,
Joanne Flynn.
Joanne Flynn and Susan Morris, who is a neighbor of
Of ours.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. She stepped in and
One?
She's smaller.
Dark-haired one?
No,
No.
white hair, gray hair.
Okay.
You would know if
I
you
know
saw
which
her.
one you
Yeah,
mean.
yeah.
so Ron joined that trio, and as usual, I worked the front of the house, and it was smooth.
Did a lot of work too.
And
I'm sorry, I missed it.
Yeah, I know.
the actual
Fun.
number changed because some people kept on moving it, but at one point I counted 42, including the workers. So
Wonderful.
yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's great attendance.
It's a
Okay.
big jump.
Anything to add to that? I love
No.
me, you love you.
No, except I don't know all your Beatles songs.
And I heard the trivia was difficult.
It
Many
was.
people said to me, his trivia was really difficult. Beatles trivia that's difficult?
I'm not going to defend myself, but the word trivia means small amount of knowledge, you know what I mean? And the winners actually got 7 out of the 10 correct, okay? So and since we only had one prize for the team, I thought we probably should make it a little difficult so we wouldn't have to double up or triple up and everything, so. But everybody complained in good fun.
Yes, yes.
These are too difficult. So there we go.
Good group.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Now you're on.
Okay, well, interesting. So I just started. So far to date, at least for the March 15th, there's 25 reservations, and that's assuming you will not be there and Jack will not be there, but that Ron and Diane will both be there, I'm hoping.
Yes, I'm pretty sure. I noticed on my calendar that I have a doctor's appointment, but
Oh, okay.
I'm certainly hoping.
Well, just give me a heads up because,
Yeah,
I have
absolutely.
people that we can call and I've got, some volunteers to come in and help.
Good.
So that's kind of moving along. Basically, I'm just in the process of getting set up, so I'm using my own personal computer. We got it connected to the town the other day. However, I wanted to know, is John's hanging around? I saw him downstairs because I was downstairs earlier. And was he leaving or is he?
He was leaving.
Oh,
Yeah.
too bad. Okay, because,
No concern, I know your laptop's on its way, so.
yeah, and he said it'll be here soon. However, the other day, last week, I was able to get in, so like I'd be able to print and whatnot here from my computer. However, today, I don't know what's going on. I go to put in a password and it won't take anything there. So I don't know what's happened to that.
I can take a quick look with you at that.
Okay.
Now we can call it,
Okay. Okay, so now I've heard from several people and I've reached out to some people. So I put a call into Brian Cruey and I also sent him a text message. I haven't heard back.
I don't know who that is.
Discouraging, Nomkeg.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I know him as Brian.
And the idea was perhaps they would be able to come in and do some kind of a historical presentation for April, which kind of coincides with their bulb festival. But I haven't heard back from him, so if you hear from him,
Did you just contact Comtech or did you call him?
I called the number I have for him, unless it's changed, because I have his cell phone.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I have a cell phone too, so I can reach out.
But I'll also send an email. But so far I've called and I've sent a text
Well, I
message.
also gave you the name and number of the young woman I spoke to about it. So you
Right.
might want to give her a call.
Amanda,
Yes.
whoever she is, we don't know, I don't know who she is, but we'll find out. Yeah,
Well, it would be a good try to at least make that connection.
oh yeah.
Okay.
So,
I'm sorry, Roxanne, just for the minutes, could you spell the gentleman's last name, Brian?
Cruey, Cruey.
Thank you.
So that has happened. I heard from someone, a local, I'm not gonna mention names, but she was interested in getting information on the transportation, which when I called her back, she basically knew how to get the transportation and she had called and talked to Polly down in Great Barrington, Council on Aging. She was aware of it, but it was interesting. She's a retired nurse and she brought up a very interesting point in that she it was a same day appointment.
Right.
Okay, And so, yes, you can get maybe a same day if they have a driver available. And she understood all that. However, in the meantime, she came down with COVID. So she ended up switching her appointment, but she brought up a really interesting question, which was, what is the protocol if you are positive for COVID, but you still need to see a physician and you need to use this transportation? So I've called Jim Willis. He was in a Zoom meeting. We'll talk later. And I talked to Charlie Kenny. And according to Charlie Kenny, who's the chairman of our Board of Health, he says basically if you're asymptomatic, their recommendation would have to talk to the Council on Aging and Great Barrington, I'm sure also. But he said if you're asymptomatic, right now the protocol would be mask if you need to go, and the safest bet is if you can ride alone. However, he did point out that some people are at risk, so they wouldn't want to be in the same vehicle. However, there might be people who want to be in the same vehicle because in his opinion, everybody should get COVID at this point. Just get it and get natural immunity unless you are.
That was his opinion.
His opinion, right. So anyway, and this is involving somebody who's obviously vaccinated, and I think most of us are. But I thought that was a good point that she brought up, that we should know what that is in case someone else asks or we end up in that situation again.
And not just know, but what protocol do we follow? I mean, the one that's official or the one that Charlie says?
Well, that is the official. The official is right now, if you're asymptomatic, you need to wear a mask, basically. And it's for other people's protection.
Right, but he said,
According to him, that's the official.
but he said, and anyone should ride on together. Could ride
They
together.
could, but
Okay,
it would be preferable to obviously.
okay.
And it probably, the others on the transportation would need to know. I mean, it would be
Right.
the, probably even legally, but it would be the right thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
To let them know that
Right.
we are providing transportation, but we do have somebody that's
Well,
tested.
that all has to come up when you make your phone call for your reservation for the ride. That's all information that should get shared.
It should, yes.
Yeah. So anyway, that's happened. And then in the meantime, I have started putting together a database. So I have the voter registration list with the ages. And I also pulled landowner records. I have those. So I'm kind of compiling, going, as I go along. And whenever I'm getting one of these messages for our RSVPing, a lot of people are leaving their phone number, or other contact information. So I'm including that, I'm jotting it down and making a note, and then it'll go into that main database. But that's going to take a significant amount of time to do.
Oh, yes.
So, and then the one thing I did want to talk about, because I had looked into just costing out if we did a St. Patrick's Day meal versus sandwiches. But if we're going to stay going with sandwiches, where do you usually get them? And do you have a standing agreement with?
Well, as I told you that day, I met with you, I was heading to Big Y.
Right.
To talk to them about it. And then in our email, I stated that also, that
But
it's
is-
Big Y.
Okay, but is there a specific person? Do we have like a discount or that's standardized or
You
anything like
need to
that?
talk to the manager. That day, I went and spoke to the young man that I've dealt with as far as going and getting them and such. And he said he was going to check that day with the manager, but then you changed it to be catered, so I didn't carry
I
it
can't
through.
change it. I thought we would just cost this out and say, does it make sense financially? I don't know what you
All right,
pay
maybe
normally.
that's where I took it incorrectly, that I understood that you were changing it to a catered meal.
I didn't feel like I could just do that unilaterally, but I thought it was worth looking into in terms of the cost, because what's the cost been for sandwiches?
Well, that's where it's in your lap now. You are the director.
Okay.
So it's no longer mine. As I've told you before, I would just run to Michael and say, hey, this is what we're doing. Can I have the credit card? And I would do that. But now you are a director and have a budget, so it would be up to you.
Okay. Do you have a ballpark number of what we're paying for sandwiches when we order them?
I do not, because I just,
I was just gonna say, I know when we get the pizzas, it's, you know, pizzas are just the sheet pizzas from Big Bladder. Sandwiches, I don't think they're more than
right.
$3 or $4 a piece.
Really?
I had priced it originally and gone to area supermarkets and to the Elm Street Market, every place originally, but that was months ago. And it wasn't, at the time, the restaurants that I was checking with were not able to do it, like Elm Street Market. You know, the manager at the time said, oh yeah, that would be good, we'll give it a try. And then the next time I went in to check on it, that manager wasn't there any longer.
Okay.
So we have just decided where we were just, our main goal was just to get people in. Michael was gracious in saying, yeah, whatever, but we didn't ask for a lot either. We were very reasonable on what we were trying to do. You know, if you want the elderly, come out, you offer them free food and lecture and entertainment, and that was our goal. So we didn't have to follow a budget. You now, as director, obviously have more rules than we had.
Well, and then the other question that I have regarding any luncheon is there, do you make an effort one way or the other, doesn't matter to me, to accommodate people who are, say, vegetarians or, you know?
That again would be up to you. We have never had anyone call and say, you know, I'm vegetarian, can you have
I'm just
something
looking
else?
for your feedback here. So
Well,
if you've
yeah,
heard
yeah, sure.
concerns about that, or if there's something that we even have to worry about. The only thing that I would be concerned about, obviously, is if anybody has allergies, they need to let us know.
Obviously.
They could let us know when they put in a reservation.
Right, right. And as yet, nobody has.
Nobody said anything?
No.
And you'd probably only have to ask that once. I mean, do you have any dietary concerns? Because, you know, I think that we would tend to get the same people.
Right.
And-
Once per person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
That's something else that I would code into like a database.
yeah,
Just put in a code, you know, where you've got an alert if somebody does have
yeah.
a severe allergy of some kind, or celiac disease, or they're gluten-free, whatever it is. You know, we could just code that in and know that about certain individuals and whether they're showing up or not. Do you have any flags showing up that have reserved for this lunch? Oh, well, we do. Okay, now we have to pay attention to that.
Right. I think most of the people that were vegetarian, if there were any, were pretty much monitoring what they were taking.
Right.
You know, like we had the tomato soup and another kind of soup once. So,
Right.
you know,
And the chicken soup.
yeah.
I was there.
Okay.
I remember.
Which did you try?
I had the tomato soup. So anyway, that's where we are. I did hear, and I have to get back to Mary McDonough, the Elder Services contact person, so I'm going to give her a call, and we keep moving forward. And what I've done is I went down this morning and I went through and kind of, a lot has to be organized down there. You know, I'd like to get it organized
In the
and
kitchen?
packed away. No, down just in the Council on Aging and the
Oh,
old office.
Okay. The kitchen needs to
For
be
all-
organized
and-
also.
And the kitchen. I went through the kitchen. So a couple of things. I mean, I pulled out everything that was St. Patrick's Day related. So I've got that all out. You know, and I have like, there were some fake flowers, you know, some artificial flowers. So I have that all ready. I found some more napkins. I've got the bag that I'm going to take down and that you brought me the other day. I do have a volunteer to do desserts for us.
Okay.
So I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be, but it sounds like it may be.
And the volunteer is going to donate the cost of,
Yes.
okay.
So the volunteer wants to do that, and I said, okay, that would be really lovely. I didn't expect this. I'm donating the stout to go into the chocolate stout cake because I had some stout at home.
They're volunteering their time, or they're volunteering to pay for the dessert?
Well, they're going to make the dessert.
Cool.
Make the dessert. So that'll be interesting. And I'm not sure what's going to be decided on, whether it'll be cupcakes or it'll be a cake or it'll be, you know, a
Okay,
couple
now
of
here's a
things.
silly question. When you say stout cake, are there those people that are not going to be able to partake in a simple stout cake for the alcohol reasons?
Because of alcohol, the alcohol's getting cooked out of it.
Understood, but there are people that are so very, very careful. So we could just go get cookies, sugar cookies from Big Y also, whatever.
Well, she doesn't have to make stout cake. She had a whole bunch of ideas. She had researched it, was excited about this.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So, let me see, there was something else. Oh, and then another thing that Teresa brought to my attention, and Mike might know, but we have a refrigerator that's plugged into a power strip.
And we need to replace that.
And so I went down and I checked it out, and it doesn't appear that there are any outlets. They're all the way up high, super high.
Yeah.
Like, I understand they should be high because we've been flooded down there before. On the other hand, I don't know that they need to be that high. So could you contact like Nick and,
I think all we have to do is I think we can get a extended cord, you can't go into a power strip. I'll check with Nick on that.
and see what is legal?
Yeah, because I think it might just be the power strip itself.
Okay.
See. I know you're not supposed to run a power strip.
Yeah, and maybe it needs to be a heavy duty,
Right.
extension cord, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
All right,
or even replace the cord that's come off for
okay.
the back, for a longer cord. So,
All righty. So, I mean, that's kind of, it's only been a few, not that many hours so far, but,
Right.
we're making some progress. And, I just need your input in terms of what you think are good programs. And, we'll still be doing this speaker of some kind of a presentation once a month with a lunch until you feel like maybe we shouldn't be doing that, or I suppose we run out of money.
I mean, I'll just say that, because you brought up how we were doing it before. We were winging it.
We were winging it,
So
absolutely.
you're definitely trying to move toward a more formal by setting up your board with your rules, your policies, and the rest. So I do think that now that you have a director, in my opinion, the director should be coming with ideas of new programming, things like that, what it'll cost to do this program, are we gonna pay an instructor, things like that. And the board should be okay with that. I think when Roxanne's asking about, do we do catered luncheons, do we do just finger food, sandwiches, pizza, or whatever, I think it should be, it should be this board deciding that. So giving the direction, you were taking direction from me, but you weren't really a board.
Right.
Like I said, we were winging it to get started.
We're winging it, we
We're not
accomplished
trying
our goal.
Right, so now we're trying to formalize it.
Yes.
So I do think that, and ultimately, you have what's in your accounts. So, we have the annual appropriation from the town, I believe it's 8,000 something. I'll get Roxanne the exact number of what we get annually. So that elder service money is built up because we can carry it over.
Right.
And during.
And in the
COVID,
future, the director's report should include those numbers also. Okay.
Yeah, so, and yeah, she'll get that from the accountant. But I do think that, I know you were saying, because I just heard, Chris, you just said, well, that's the director's job. Well, the director's job is to give you guys options and then this board to decide on which options you want. So I think you need to give a little guidance there as far as, do you want catered lunches? If you do, there's nothing saying you should have all catered lunches all year, but then what I would recommend is you set cost parameters and the rest to say, this is what we're gonna do because this is how much money we have to work with, this is what programs we wanna do.
Right.
Where's the focus at? I know we have our once a month thing that's happening, where we have the luncheon and guest speaker. Do you want, development of programs, things like that, bring ideas forward. So I do think that, let's, when you guys were coming to me and sort of, I was making the call when we were winging it, I think now, the role has shifted to you guys are making the call and Roxanne's bringing it.
And I
to
thank you for
instead.
putting it that way, because my thought is, rather than us giving you the ideas, and I showed you what the survey was and such,
Right.
I would like you as the director to bring us your ideas, what you've implement, what you've priced out, what you've implemented, and give us choices. But you as the director should be seeking these activities for our seniors.
Oh, yeah, and we've discussed all of them, and most of them, they're basically based on what people would like to see. And so, yeah, obviously, there has to be a deep dive. I want to get through this lunch. But there has to be a deep dive in terms of getting information about various different options that people have expressed an interest in.
Right.
And then finding out how to get that scheduled, and getting all the costing, finding out what will be involved to pull this off. How many people do we need? Does it need excessive volunteers, that kind of thing?
Right. And speaking of budgeting and maybe doing more catered lunches, I would like to see funds going towards more lecturers that may be charging us. We've been very careful on our budget for getting, I think we've only paid one and a minimal amount. So I would love to see better lecturers and more information too, and be putting money towards that. And also for activities, and you all may stop me if I'm carrying on too much.
Can I?
I get on a roll.
So I'd like to stop you, okay?
Good.
Yeah, my strong suggestion is that one of the agendas of our next meeting is what's next, that we do the planning and not just give our opinions without having it under a formal meeting.
But when you
Because-
say we do the planning.
No.
The planning
I mean,
is saying for us.
of the policy that we want and the protocols that we want followed as a board. Because right now, you're giving your opinion, and I happen to disagree with a couple of them, and I don't think now is the time to present that. I'd like to put it off to new business, okay?
Okay.
And really say what's next in terms of policy.
Okay.
All right? By the way, 2 I disagreed with and 4 I agreed with, so, but let's not go there. Okay? So unless there's an objection to that, unless you want to have a discussion now. But I tend to be reflective, and the fact that we know the task for next meeting, then we can say that this is our policy, and now, Director, please, follow within that policy. So we no longer are shooting from the hip. Is that what you said, or that? Winging it.
Shooting from the hip, same thing.
Yeah. Unless there's an objection to that,
So that means for our next meeting, we put it on our agenda that we need to come up with a plan
Right,
for that meeting.
right.
So now we're extending it all the way till, this is March. We'll do that in April. We'll finalize it in May.
Not necessarily. I think now that it's been brought up, I think that all of us can think about the policy and take a good time to discuss it next meeting and say, yeah, we're there. I think we can do it in one meeting.
Okay.
Also, according to our guidelines, we can call you can call a special meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think it needs a special meeting, but I think,
I mean, I'll just say it. I know I had mentioned to Roxanne, I had mentioned you guys, I really think like for March and April, you should continue sort of the way it is now. And then during that time, between the board setting its policies and Roxanne coming up with her ideas of what she'd like to see this going forward, then you bring it all together and go from there. So that'd be my recommendation to you guys, because it is, it is a start over. And we're still in that start over process. And now we're formalizing it. You guys are taking the, 50-foot view. And the day-to-day operation is what you turn over to Roxanne.
Is there a way to get a financial report monthly as to how we're doing?
Yeah, the week before, actually, I would say, I can ask Cheryl the Monday before the meetings, every Monday. We can have Cheryl send Roxanne the updated financials to distribute to the board. So, yeah, it's not a problem. You can get monthly reports, yeah.
A couple of things. Hopefully you will send me this operational guide.
in 2 ways. I'll give you a hard copy right now.
Okay.
Okay, and also email it to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one of my concerns has been, I think that when we are feeding people, that I think we should be concerned about having them be healthy meals as much as possible. So, and also economical meals. We do have a commercial kitchen down there. So I'd like to see us take advantage of that to some degree. You know, I'm Serve Safe certified. We have a commercial kitchen. So where it makes sense and where it's more economical to actually do something in your kitchen rather than hiring somebody to do it for you, but you have to do, you know, an analysis of what makes more sense financially and time-wise. Do you have the help, et cetera? But I think as much as possible, we should probably take advantage of the fact that we do have a commercial kitchen. You know, it would be very nice to utilize it.
It's wonderful, wonderful.
And exploring that, I think we should weigh, who would do it all? I mean, how would be knocked out and served and prepared versus getting
Prepared
from
to come in.
elsewhere and cost. So again, this is a 2-month decision probably to, you know.
Absolutely.
we-
And I think that's what you're saying is,
Yeah.
yes, we have to
Make
price
sure
them
if it
all out.
makes sense. And the other thing is you might be surprised at how many volunteers you might actually get.
And that would be up to you, oh, new director.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
But, you know, obviously we have people that are willing, they have time and, you know, the means
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. And if they're happy to help, that's
Take it.
great. It just brings more people
Absolutely.
in.
And also, as we've discussed many times, we feel the way to increase the numbers is to hold people accountable. In other words, you have to go to the meeting in order to help prepare the food. Well, that's going to increase the numbers, you know. And along with that, that's why I want to not just be the performer, but I'd rather develop people from the community who perform, and I would help them on that as, you know, I'll be their enabler and give them the confidence. But again, it would increase numbers if they have a role to play. And also, they'll bring at least maybe a spouse, maybe a couple friends, or a couple enemies.
Get some men in the building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have a lot of talent in this town, and we just need to be able to draw upon that. There are a lot of talented people with a lot of different skill sets. And, you know, I think the more we encourage them to come in, most of us are 60 and over. So the more we encourage them to come in, the more we, you know, bring others in.
That's our goal.
Yeah,
We want it to be a welcoming place for all.
right.
Great.
Okay.
This is the first time that we've had a director's report. Does it need a vote of,
You only need votes on actions you're taking.
okay,
So if you want to do the acceptance of the director's report, you could. Yeah.
okay.
Now, here's my,
It's not a requirement.
It's not,
But if you were deciding a course of action, then you would need.
right, so we would have different parts of it to have a vote on. And can we in the future require a written report and even get it in advance, like sent to us? We can, okay. Here,
was that yes?
we would ask you that
By
now.
the time I saw this, I was like, director's report? What? So, yeah, obviously I would write up a report
Right,
and,
right.
you know, give it
Okay.
formally.
We tend to post the meetings about a week ahead. So that's when we'll, this one was, I think, Friday we did it, so, yeah. So just so you know, that's the attempt to inform us, because, yeah. Can I ask one question about something that you brought up, Roxanne? And it's in the area of transportation. You said that somebody needed this same day service. And since we're sharing with Great Barrington, and I looked at how to get transportation, I think that it said that they needed a reservation within,
20
Hours.
24 to 48 hours.
yeah, so they need 24 to 48 hours, but we have a person who needs immediate. That is, I think, something we
It
should.
is covered, and they do say that if you need same day, if there's availability.
Oh, if there's
It
a,
might be possible, but it's not guaranteed
Right.
unless you do the reservation. And another thing I've thought about, and I have to look into the legality, the liability, but I think it would be nice if we could have some group form of volunteers that are not directly connected with the town government at all, who are people who are out there, have cars, driver's licenses, and would be happy to assist people. And then it's just a matter of, they inform people, here's our list of numbers. If something happens, you can give these people a call. If it's something like,
Well, Liz
Same
had
day.
something like that going, although they were getting paid.
they were getting paid. I'm
They were get-
talking wholly volunteer,
Let me continue.
detached from the government.
Let me continue. Would there be a liability to the town if they should get in an accident?
Not if
This
it's not
volunteer.
part of government, in my opinion.
So
but I
a
have to check.
volunteer for the senior center that is going to drive somebody to a doctor's appointment, if they get in an accident, either the person that's getting the ride or the driver, if something, God forbid, medically happens, the town is not liable?
So I
I'm
think-
saying not connected to the Council on Aging directly.
Right.
I'm talking about a little band of good people who want to get together and volunteer and put this together themselves, because we're a very small town.
We can check that. I know that as far as if it's run by the Council on Aging, if it's a paid position or rep, then it's basically a livery service, so we would have to.
Patrick has his,
But I do think that we can look into if it was just a list of people that was just disseminated, but they are not affiliated with the town, but we'd have to really check that carefully.
right. Patrick?
Would there,
Hi. Hey, Michael, I hear that you're there off camera. I would like a clarification as to what county resources are available for folks with an active COVID infection for transportation. I think that this is not the forum to be determining, based on whatever Charlie said, what the policy of our transportation should be. And I also feel like, yesterday in Boston Globe, there was a nursing home in Cape Cod where 5 people just died of COVID. And I think that this is a complex issue. I understand herd immunity, but everyone should get COVID. I don't know about that, but I do think this is something where I would like Tri-Town and the Board of Health to weigh in on as what the best procedure is. And I don't think we should be announcing, just wear a mask. If we're going to put seniors on a bus with people with active COVID, I hope that we're handing out N95 masks, et cetera, but I'm not the public health expert. We have those. And I would like to take that discussion offline from this board and bring it to the boards who have both the authority and the expertise to deal with it. Thank you.
Well, I was just reporting my conversation with Charlie. I've reached out to Tri-Town as well. And obviously, this group does not determine what that protocol is. The boards of health do. So that's where it's going, Patrick. It's been brought to their attention and they need to bring it up with themselves.
Well, I would actually
and with the
argue
state,
that-
what the state protocol
Well,
is.
I would actually argue where it should start, that the only thing we should get for clarification is the policy that the rides program out of Great Barrington,
Right.
what their policy is for it. And it's really their policy internally with compliance with state and federal.
Right. And I put in a call to Polly Mann and didn't get a hold of her. So I still have to touch base with her as well. Yep.
Again, for minutes, who should check that policy? Is it the administrator, the director, the board? The Barrington policy, who should be
Oh, no, I
taking
think that's a call from the director. She already has a call in just to find out what the policy of the rides program that we participate in is.
Okay.
So they should have a policy on. infectious
So
disease and the rest.
Roxanne should explore that.
She's already.
I'm already working on it.
could you also check out insurance on vehicles or the person's insurance, car insurance vehicle? Because if you do this on a rotation basis or something, you're actually into a chauffeur's position and you may
Well,
need
that's why
to
it can't be affiliated with the town.
Can't be
That's why we
affiliated
moved
with
it
the
to Great Barrington. Our formal ride program is with Great Barrington. It's run as a commercial livery service, which brings in 4 times a year inspection, driver's qualifications, the whole nine yards. That, I think what Roxanne and I never looked into is whether or not there could be a list of volunteers that know right up front that there's no affiliation with the town. They're just doing it as a good neighbor program.
I mean,
If you do it,
I don't know if we can or can't do that, because you're allowed to give a ride to somebody else.
Right.
yeah, occasionally,
If it comes from us, I'm just afraid that if we're the ones creating this list,
No.
or you're creating this list, who's creating this list, I don't think the town itself can be involved in creating.
no, I want it to be a completely separate group, but it occurred to me because I just had cataract surgery. So each time you have to be driven there and driven home. Well, I had plenty of volunteers to take me down and pick me up. And I'm thinking, you know, we're a small town. Many of us know each other, and we've known each other for a lifetime or, 50, 60 years. So it's like, wouldn't it be nice? Because on occasion, and a lot of people will not avail themselves of that, or they have a same-day need. And when you have a same-day need and it's an immediate need, wouldn't it be really nice to know who you could call upon? And for those people who aren't, don't get out a lot, are more isolated, that they just knew these are the friendly people in my neighborhood and in my town that are willing to help out. I know, like, there are other people in town that I've just spontaneously, they've asked for a ride somewhere and I just take them. Franklin Ripley, I pick them up every time I see
It's an absolute.
my car.
It's an absolutely wonderful and altruistic
It's
idea.
wonderful.
As Ron just brought up, and I concur with that, I think we just have to check bases, and I bring a personal experience to it, that we had that kind of thing in a school system there I worked, where parents said, yeah, be happy to. There was an accident and the school system was sued.
Well, that's, if it's done through the school system, same thing here.
Right,
It's
but you're-
Right, so
who's handing
big-
out the list?
not us.
But
Right, so somebody.
So how are they getting access to that? You're going to have one of these volunteers organize it?
Yeah,
say that again?
They are willing.
Council on Aging, we shouldn't be discussing that.
Right.
if they're willing. But anyway,
Okay, yeah, and I think the difference that you brought up is that you asked for the rides as a person, but if we, didn't you ask for rides?
no, I just said I have to go for cataract surgery and I'm, have to find a ride, and I had like 4 people immediately go,
Right, and
oh,
the impetus,
no problem.
and the impetus came from you, and they answered as a friend. If however, if the town or the director of the board said, these folks are available to be called.
That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm just throwing this out there. And maybe it doesn't belong in this forum, but maybe people will hear this, watch the show and go, that's a good idea. So.
Okay.
Okay, done. Anything else on your director's report? Anything more from you?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head, no.
All right, so we thank you for that. It's open forum time. Does anyone have anything? Okay, I'll take that as we're all set. Our next meeting will be April 12th. Same place, same time, 10 o'clock. I better put my glasses on, make sure it's April 12th. Yes, it's April 12th. I thank you, everyone.
I move
Any
to
other-
adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All righty.